call if you're not yet connected to your state formation. The Nonviolent Medicaid Army is organizing in more than 13 states around the country, so we want to make sure that you get connected. And if there isn't a chapter in your state yet, we want to help you get it started. This is the April 2026 Saturday School of Struggle. The focus for today is on landscape assessments, understanding our communities and where to find our base. Throw up an emoji if you're calling in from a watch party today. I know we have a bunch of those because we're already out in our communities, connecting with people, connecting with our class, base building, door knocking, doing people's clinics. And the session today is designed to help us do that as effectively as possible. We want to go right to our people. We want to connect with them where they live, where they meet their needs. We are organizing the unorganized. We are politically independent. We are member led, and we are focused on developing clear, competent, committed, and connected leaders. Once again, welcome everyone. Welcome to the April Saturday School of Struggle with the Nonviolent Medicaid Army. Please introduce yourself in the chat. Share your name, your pronouns, your state, your organization. Today's topic is on landscape assessments, understanding our communities and where to find our base. Please let us know if this is your first call with the Nonviolent Medicaid Army. We welcome you here. We welcome everyone. Welcome if this is one of many calls that you're on with us. Welcome if this is your first call. And thank you so much for everything that you do. I'm going to pass it on now to Harrison.
Thank you, Nijmi. That was awesome. Let's go to our Mishtika. We can move a couple slides ahead. Thank you, everyone, for putting your location, your pronouns, your organization in the chat. Let's keep it coming. It's awesome. And let's go to the next slide, please. Awesome. We can go one more. And we're going to look at our Mishtika. And Mishtika is a concept we take from the MST, or Landless Workers Movement of Brazil. They're the largest movement of the poor and dispossessed in the Western Hemisphere. And Mishtika is how we tap into the deeper feeling and meaning of why we are in this fight for our human rights. And today's Mishtika is a video that Put People First PA made at Mission of Mercy, a giant dental clinic that we're going to be talking about a little today. We made this video in 2015. So you can go ahead and play it, Scott. Thank you.
We're currently sitting at Harrisburg, PA, at the Farm Show Complex. We're currently in the waiting room, waiting to be seen for our teeth, to get our teeth worked on.
Veteran, it's very discouraging when you don't have accessibility to dental care unless you're a retired veteran. I've also worked a lot with the homeless, and it's very hard to see them not have access to medical or to dental, except for programs like this that's going on today.
I had to sacrifice getting medication that was real expensive, and then I couldn't afford car payments. So then by missing car payments, you can only miss so many, and they take your vehicle, and then you got to figure out where you're going to go from there to have a ride back and forth to work when you need a job.
And I'm a 40-hour-a-week worker. I have 3 children. I'm a single mom, and I can't afford health care at all. So at this point, I have no insurance, and I have to either go to free health clinics or events such as this, like Mom's PA, to get some work done that I need. And so it is disappointing that someone that is working full time can't afford health care.
There's not poor people here. These are people who all work and are all out there. They just don't have the extra money for dental care. And everybody needs it. There's not a person on the planet that doesn't need dental care. And the way it's set up now, people just aren't getting it. So, you know, are our legislators seeing this? I hope they're seeing this.
It's hard to imagine that there's so many people that have no place to go to a dentist, don't know where to start, whether it's because of no money, whether it's because they're afraid, whether it's because they don't know anyone in the community or their English isn't their first language.
No, I think anybody knows all the big cities really can use the help, and it's just how often can we get out? We wish we could do more of these missions and get there more often. I also know that rural Pennsylvania is another place that somehow we'll have to figure out what to do with that, because there are a lot of people there who could use the services.
I thank God at this point that I am healthy, but what's going to happen if I down the line where I'm going to need it and I'm not going to be able to afford it?
It's very discouraging that in the United States, the land of the free, that healthcare is costs so much. So where in other countries it's free.
It shouldn't be that way. Our government should be able to help the people that need the help. Everybody thinks that being on Medicare, being disabled is such a great thing. It's not, because I can make more by working, but because I'm not able to work, I get limited health care, so then I can't get the things done that are needed.
Awesome. Scott, you can go ahead and put our slideshow back up. We're going to talk a little more about that dental clinic and things like that today, but that was a really powerful video, and that's one of those places where we really try to go. We really do go to meet our base, and I'm gonna, yeah, thank you for getting this back up, Scott. I'm gonna pass it over to Maggie, who's gonna take us through our goals.
Hey everyone, Maggie, she, her, calling in from Richmond, Vermont with the Vermont Worker Center. So our goals for today, learn about how to make assessments about the best places to find our base, explore the landscape assessment tool as a guide and practice in our base building, reflect on where we have been spending our time, what we have learned, and where it makes sense to base build in 2026. We can go to the next slide. So our agenda for today, we're going to be chatting through our community agreements, getting in step together. Then we're going to go into who is the Nonviolent Medicaid Army, what is a landscape assessment, how to find our base, breakout discussions in each of our regions, further discussion. Then we'll talk through next steps and ways to get involved, and then we'll have our closing. Next slide, thank you. So for our community agreements today, we have the Platinum Rule: treat others the way they want to be treated, not just the way you want to be treated. One mic, only one person should speak at a time. Assume positive intent and take care of impact. Not everyone comes in with the same set of experiences and knowledge, So assume that people have good intent. Also, be accountable for the impact of your actions and words as well. Move up, move back. If you feel you're speaking a lot, make space for others to speak. And if you find yourself not talking, try to contribute some comments, ideas, or suggestions. Respect each other's time. Please come back on time from breaks and refrain from speaking in long monologues. No one knows everything. Together we know a lot. This agreement asks that we all practice being humble and look for what we have to learn from each person in the room. It asks us to share what we know as well as our questions so that others may learn from us. We are all responsible for the success of the space. In contrast to how we experience ruling class education as a product to be consumed, we believe that everyone has the ability to learn and to teach. We expect all members to take an active role in the success of the gathering. And finally, all NVMA events are drug and alcohol free or substance free spaces. We respect the needs of our members in recovery or who otherwise may not be able to be in the presence of drugs or alcohol. Members should not be intoxicated or using substances while participating in NVMA spaces, virtually over Zoom or in person. We can go to the next slide.
Hey everybody, this is Aaron in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The Nonviolent Medicaid Army of the Poor is a growing politically independent force of the poor and dispossessed, united across identities, regions, races, and issues. It's modeled after Martin Luther King's Nonviolent Army of the Poor from the Poor People's Campaign of 1968. Those who are, excuse me, guys. Those who are on or excluded from Medicaid represent the diversity of the entire working class and are impacted by every single front of the struggle. Housing, living wages, food, education, debt, migration, incarceration. Fight for Medicaid is common to the North and to the South. Being on or excluded from Medicaid objectively unites a huge section of the leading social force, the group of people that has the most to gain and the least to lose from a fundamental transformation of society.
Thank you, Aaron. Awesome. Hey, everyone. I'm Harrison from Put People First, PA. We're going to get into our content today. Rika and I are going to be talking to you about landscape assessments. And the landscape assessment is it's a tool we have in Put People First, PA, but it's really a process that all base building organizations use. So what is a landscape assessment? That's our topic for today. Landscape assessment is a process to assess, right? That means estimate and understand based on what we know and have learned our landscape. The landscape is the terrain that we're organizing in. This is more than just geography, like our geographic area. It's also the economic, the cultural, and political terrain. So these are questions about where can we find our people? Who is out there? And what's happening? We may wonder, why is it important to ask these questions and to look at this? Like, why spend time on this? Why not just go out there and try stuff, right? I'm going to pass it over to Rika to talk a bit about why it's necessary to do landscape assessments and to have have this reflection.
Thank you, Harrison. Hi everyone. I'm hoping everybody's having a good Saturday. And the reason that we do landscape assessments because we need to know our base. where our base is located, and we need to know what their needs are so we can help them get them or give it to them. And that's why we do projects of survival with landscape assessment. And nowhere in the world in history can anyone find where a dumb force rose up and defeated a smart force. And this is what one of our mentors say, Willie the Baptist. So we have to know our terrain, we need to know our people, and we need to know what they need in that area. If they're having problems with their water system and they're not getting clean water, we need to know that. If they don't have a grocery store in their neighborhood, we need to know that. We need to know if they don't have a hospital around, because these are things that are human rights and everyone should be able to have them. So this is the reason why we do this. And people need to understand where their base is located. We just don't go anywhere. We go where our base is, because our base are the people that we are trying to organize to defeat this system. And this is the reason why we do landscape assessments. And you should always go and check again and again, because your landscape assessment can change. So, Harrison, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, you just wrote the book, Rika. Thank you. I think I'll just I'm gonna elaborate on what Rika shared because that was great. Hit the nail on the head. So important to understand our communities and also to know where to find our base. We're not just doing base building anywhere. Thank you, Rika. We can go to the next slide. So there are so many places in our community to organize, so many places to meet people. And the landscape assessment grounds us in the most strategic places, the places that it makes sense to really throw our energy. And one of the biggest importance of the landscape assessment, like Rika said, is it gives us a more precise understanding of the locations where our base is at. We learn where to find our base and where are the places that is most effective to find our base. And our base, the people we're looking for, are the most impacted by the healthcare crisis. We're people on or unfairly excluded from Medicaid who represent the diversity of the working class, and they represent every front of struggle, right? From closed hospitals to housing to food to water. We know, right? We know we can find people struggling with healthcare everywhere. But it doesn't make it a good place to find a concentration of our base. And that's what we really want to think about. So, for example, think about a Whole Foods. We can surely find people struggling with healthcare at a Whole Foods. It's not to say that we can't find gold at Whole Foods, but this is not really a place where we're going to meet our base, a concentration of our base. We can think about it this way, right? Because we talk about panning for gold. That's what we're doing. Not everyone we talk to is going to get organized, but we're looking for the gold that sticks and stays. And there are gold mines out there. In nature, gold forms in veins, like lines of gold. So there are places where we can find a lot of gold. And you want to ask yourself, if you're panning for gold, would you rather go to a place where you may find a few specks here and there, or would you rather go to a gold mine? And there are gold mines out there in lots of places. And these are places where our base is primarily. So places like food distribution sites, public housing complexes, poor neighborhoods, free clinics. One thing I want to say, we can't get confused though about, right? We're trying to go where we're finding the most impacted members of our base, the people most impacted by the healthcare crisis. This does not mean we're focusing on the most catastrophized, right? We're not focusing on the person struggling the most. That's not what we're saying. An example of a catastrophized member of our class is someone who's battling the chemical warfare on our class, right? So we're organizing, we know, at the point of survival, but that doesn't mean we're trying to organize the person who's barely surviving. There are a lot of people struggling to survive and being thrown into the survival struggle. We heard them at the Mission of Mercy video we just watched, right? People who are losing their jobs, who before felt like they were making it good, right? Healthcare workers, people struggling to take care of their family, single mothers, right? There's 90 million people on Medicaid who represent the bottom of society. And we have to understand where this group of people is because they can lead the whole of society, right? The whole working class, the 99%. Laundromats, yes. Thank you, Pippa. That's another great place where we can find our base. Like we know they're going to be there. One more thing about landscape assessments, right? There's room for experimentation. Part of a landscape assessment is thinking about places to try, right? Where do we want to go check out? And sometimes we try out places that aren't as fruitful. And that's okay. Like we want to gain more understanding about the places where we can reliably meet our base so we can focus on panning for gold in those places. It's like the Sun Tzu quote in the first slide. Confirmation of the ground is of the greatest assistance. So we want to know and learn about where we're going. And landscape assessments, this process is about reflecting on the best places to spend our time. Because with the state of society and where things are going, we see it all around: hospitals closing, Medicaid's getting cut, we're getting pulled into more and more wars. The ruling class is getting more and more desperate to control us. So that's where things are going. And with the state of how disorganized our class is, we can see that we need to be as smart as possible in where we choose to spend our time. Like we need to make the most with what we've got. And landscape assessments are a really big help for doing that. Martin Luther King Jr. said that our task is to organize solidly and simultaneously in thousands of places at once. So we got to be smart about how we're doing that because we're trying to be organizing solidly. We're really trying to dig in and build permanent organization. So we need to be in the places where we can do that, where it makes the most sense to do that. And I want to talk about some examples. So we can go to the next slide. A good place, right? The public housing complex. We found this in our work, right? This is a complex in Central Appalachia, PA, in Johnstown. We have some people from Johnstown who live here on the call, right? Because these are the people that we're organizing. This is us, right? We know we have to organize ourselves. And public housing is a really great place to find people. And you can see here, this is a people's clinic we held, and we're having meetings in this housing complex, right? It's really important to have this this like very precise knowledge, like what is the neighborhood that we want to go to? Because we know like our neighborhoods can vary even block by block. And we want to focus on like where are we going to find the poor and dispossessed? Where are we going to find people that are that have nothing to lose and everything to gain from change, a change in society? We can go to the next slide. A good example comes in New York, right? Or I'm sorry, this is Maryland. I don't know if we skipped a slide or if that's the next one. If we could go back. Oh yeah, thank you, Scott. Sorry. So this is Maryland. Oh, you can go back. Thank you. This is Maryland. Here we have Terrell, one of our beloved leaders in United Workers, talking to some folks at a food distribution site. In Maryland, they've been focusing a lot of their activity at food distribution sites because they know this is a place where we can find our base. This is a place where we know we're going to find a lot of people who are struggling to get by. And on the right here, we have a picture of their Hope Garden. This is a project of survival. And we can see in the background, right? This is a poor neighborhood. This is a familiar site. This is a place where we know that our base lives. And so that's where we're doing our project of survival, right? It only makes sense to do these projects in a place where we're meeting a steady flow of people in our base. And we have to know where those places are. We can go to the next slide, please. Here's New York. So New York, they've been doing a people's clinic in partnership with a food distribution site at a park. This is at the left-hand photo, right? So there's already a project where people who are struggling are going, and they were able to identify where this is happening and build a partnership to organize there, to have organizing conversations, to pan for gold by doing a people's clinic there, right? They're not doing this in they're not doing a people's clinic in I don't know what it's called, the financial district, right? Right outside of Wall Street, where people are making six figures plus. They may not be they may not have health care, but we have to go where we know people are really struggling the most, where people don't have any stake in this system. That's who we're trying to organize, because that's the force that's going to lead society to a fundamental change, which is what we know we need. And this group of people knows the most. They're the clearest about that. And on the right-hand side, we have in Albany, they've been doing a regular project of survival, a people's clinic at a free breakfast, a free weekly breakfast, where a lot of folks who are homeless go. So they know at this spot, like they can meet people who are struggling, and that's where they're choosing to dig in, right? Because like MLK said, we need to organize simultaneously and solidly. So we need to know, like, we need to be organizing in a lot of different places, and we can't just be scattered around, right? I've fallen into this mistake too in thinking about base building. Oh, maybe we can try this place. And oh, maybe we can go to this place. And oh, maybe we can try this place. But we have to, at a certain point, we have to decide. We have to dig in. Like, this is a place where we're meeting people who are in our base. Like, let's stick with it. We can go to the next slide, please. Here's a photo from Mission of Mercy. The Mishtika we watched was from 2015. This, I believe, was in 2025. So that's a whole 10 years. 10 years later, 10 years we've been going to this dental clinic where thousands of people go because they have to get dental care, right, at this clinic. We heard about the struggle in the video. People don't have another way to get health care, to get dental care. So they have to go to this clinic. And look at that line. Look at the mass of people waiting in line. This is an opportunity for us to talk to a lot of people who are in our base. And it's a big lift, right? Our members had to wake up at like 4 in the morning, sometimes earlier, to drive, to pick people up, to help transport them to the clinic, then to wait in line. They do Mission of Mercy in the winter and the summer. So whether it's the dead of heat or the bitter cold, to wait outside and talk to people, it's a hard experience, but it's worth it. We know it's worth it. And why is it worth it? Because we know this is where we're going to find our base. Do you think that our members would wake up at 4 a.m. to drive people somewhere to talk to academics at a conference or activists at an activist networking event, right? And no shade on these folks. When I first got organized, I was in academia. And I know that if we went and woke up at 4 a.m. to talk to a bunch of my fellow academics, that would be a waste of time. That wouldn't be a good use of our time. But to go wake up at 4 a.m. and talk to people who have to get up that early just to get dental care, that is a good use of our time. And that's what landscape assessments are about. It's about making these strategic decisions. Right? It's not to say we couldn't find good people at either place, but where does it make the most sense for us to go? Where does it make the most sense to throw our resources? And we could go to the next slide. Here's some photos from Vermont. Looks like a community meal, right? That's a great place to meet people, to have conversations. It's a place where people are going to get their needs met. And these are the kinds of places we want to look for. Where do people get their needs met, their basic needs? And where can we go and talk to them and have conversations about the struggle, right? Because best place to have a conversation about the struggle to get your needs met is when you're at a free clinic or a free meal. And you can see there in the right, they're doing some tabling in a neighborhood where working class people live. This makes sense to us, right? Like when we're choosing a neighborhood to go door knocking, we want to choose a neighborhood that's a poor neighborhood. We don't want to choose a neighborhood that has a bunch of mansions, right? Like we're looking for the bottom of society. We're looking for the Nonviolent Medicaid Army and to organize the bottom. And we live in particular areas in concentration, and we want to find those places. Just pausing to see like that we're on board with that. Is that makes sense? Does anyone who was involved in one of these photos, because I saw a lot in the chat, folks have been there. Do you want to talk about like how you chose that location, how you understood like this is a good place to go? Yeah, Father Ty.
Yeah, I'll just say because someone asked a really excellent question in the chat about our Hope Garden space in particular, and there you had two that photo of the two. One was my former church that was permanently closed by our archdiocese, Transfiguration, where there was hundreds of people coming once a month for a food distribution. That was already kind of like a shared space arrangement, but Hope Garden is a space that we as United Workers really kind of control all ourselves. It was a vacant lot, and we went through our city's Adopt a Lot program. A number of community garden spaces around the city have done the similar thing, but the advantage is we control that space entirely. I mean, we have to work within the framework of the city, et cetera, but like we're not asking permission. We're not running in against other groups or even other agendas or other theories about what we're doing and why we're doing it and how we're doing it. We have a lot more freedom there. And that's been really important to think about. when we looking at terrain, is there also part of the terrain we can kind of control or in a more direct way so that we can do the base building we need to do? It's also in West Baltimore in the Harlem Park neighborhood, which is also a neighborhood that many of our members have come from. It's a particularly hard hit area of the west side of the city of Baltimore. And so, yeah, it's been a good place to meet our base in the city of Baltimore. And yet, I think it's also been a way for others across the state to see what they might also be able to think creatively about with the situations in their own locations.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Father Ty. That was great. And let's hear from Shasta.
Hey Ron, can you hear me? I'm in my car. Yeah. So those pictures, I happen to be in both of them, which is like super weird. But that was from our day of action on September 6th. And we chose, it's a little parklet in Newport, and we chose doing our day of action there because their hospital was at threat of being closed. And so we were able to partner with Northeast Kingdom Organizing, and then we also had the People's Kitchen doing the community meal there. So it was a great day, and actually it was raining cats and dogs, and we still had about 80 people come out. And because it was day of action, people from all over the state were able to come out. So it was really an awesome event. And I think we've kind of used that event to leverage more kind of regular, consistent events in the Northeast Kingdom. So it's been a really good beneficial partnership between Worker Center and NICO, which is Northeast Kingdom Organizing. So just thought I'd give context to those photos.
Thank you, Shasta. Awesome. Appreciate that a lot. This really connects to what we're going to talk about now and start getting into, which is the landscape assessment tool and the considerations that we make when we're thinking about places to base build. So I'm going to talk about that before we have some time in groups to like get into these questions together. So we're going to share out this tool and have time to work on it together. Some things to keep in mind about using this. For one, this landscape assessment tool is a living document. So the point of this is not to be like a comprehensive thing that takes a bunch of time. The point of it is to be used, to be updated. Like Rico was saying, right? This is a living process. We're connecting what we know to our practice and keeping them in constant connection. So this tool, it helps us think about what we are doing. We have to be thinking about that, right? If we're not thinking about what we're doing, we're just fighting the good fight, but we aren't fighting to win, right? And we're trying to set ourselves up to win so we don't have to fight. Another key thing about doing these landscape assessments, right? Because this is a living process, we can keep looking at this. This is a great way to bring people in to work on something together. And it's really good because it helps make newer people feel valued and heard. Our base knows a lot, right? And with this landscape assessment, we're asking about our own communities. And we know we have a lot of knowledge about our own communities, where to go, what things are out there, what other groups are out there. Our base knows a lot of that. And so this is a way to like get that collective brain, our collective intelligence working, right? Together we know a lot. That's one of our community agreements. So our landscape assessment, we're going to start, when we break out into discussions, we're going to focus on these first primary questions, which are about base building. And we've heard from Father Ty and Shasta explain like some of the things we think about in answering these, as well as like I've shared that, right? Where do our people live? Where does our base live, right? We can start with that. Um, and where have we done base building before? Where have we been? We want to reflect on that. We want to take time to think about that because we aren't organizing in a vacuum. We've been doing a lot and we want to remember that because that's going to help guide us about are we going to keep going here or do we need to actually try somewhere else? So we want to remind ourselves like where have we been base building? And especially building statewide organizations, you're base building in a lot of places and you may forget about some places that you've been. So again, this doesn't need to be comprehensive, but you can think like in the recent times, where have you been base building? And where do you want to continue base building? Or where do you think would be a good area to try in 2026? And we want to be thinking about, right? Like, where is a place that we know we can find our base? This is some of what I was talking about. Like, where do we know that working class people live? Where do we know where we can find people who are on Medicaid? Like a lot of people who are on Medicaid. Because there are places where there's a lot of people on Medicaid, and there are also neighborhoods where there's not a lot of people on Medicaid. And those neighborhoods still may be filled with working class people, but it's not our base. And Father Ty raised really good questions we're thinking about too, which is partners, right? Who are our partners in our relationships that we're building? Because we want to think about, right? What are spaces that are really friendly to what we've been doing, that really want to see what we're doing, right? Because we may have experiences of food distribution sites or clothing sites that are like, you all are awesome. People's Clinic, like, yes, please come back again, right? And there's also other kinds of partnerships that we're navigating, like how are we going to achieve our goals here? Like they want us to do all this stuff, or they're putting us over there in the corner. Like, how is this like helping our organization? So there's a space to think about our experience with partners and partners and relationships we want to develop and deepen. And we can go to the next slide. So in your discussions, I think it'd be fine to focus on those 4 questions. That's a lot, but if you have time, and of course this is a living process, so you can always come back to this later. There's other questions about the terrain, right? What are the current or recent healthcare developments? And it gives some examples, hospital closures, hospital mergers, right? News you're hearing about healthcare, about the environment, right? About data centers. I know we're hearing a lot about that in our towns. What are some free low-cost clinics in our area, right? What are places we know about the resources that are out there? There's actually a lot of resources out there, even though, right, our society is collapsing. There's a lot out there. There's a whole nonprofit industry worth trillions of dollars that doesn't solve the root problem, but they throw all this money and all this like sandwiches and hygiene products, and people go there, right? Because we need those things. So where are those places? And what's been our contact with elected officials too, right? Because this is a political struggle and we hold all power holders accountable. So we want to think about like, have we heard from elected officials about this, or have we reached out to them? We're finding in the Nonviolent Medicaid Army, there's a tactic of going to our legislators about our healthcare struggles when people are being cut off Medicaid, when they're getting the runaround from the welfare office. Like legislators have the power to fix that, to help. And so they need to hear. They need to hear from us. And there's even a section about people's history. There's so much history in our own states, in our own towns, our own regions in this country. People's history, not just the history we're taught, right? About the founding fathers did this, and blah blah blah. Like there's history of everyday people, of working class people who fight, are fighting back, who fought back, who won things, who learned things. There's working class heroes in every one of our states, right? So much history there. And we want to think about, do we know that? Do we know people's history of this region, the indigenous history of this region, right? The civil rights history, the labor history, all the abolitionist history, all so much history to study. This document doesn't mean we have to have all the answers right now, but it's a start, right? It's to get us thinking like, what do we know and what do we need to learn? So these are basically the three elements of a landscape assessment that we have: the base building, the terrain, and the people's history. And we're about to go into breakout rooms. And like I said, we can focus on section one, the base building, and share about that. But if the discussion permits, you can also talk about these other questions as well. And we're gonna have about 25 minutes in breakout rooms. I just put them in the chat. And we can take my spotlight off and just be as a big group. We want to think about where has been a good place for you to base build. If people shared any insightful lessons and tips about places to focus our base building, and what are some fruitful partnerships that you're building?
I'll go ahead and jump in. We've been focusing on the homeless shelters, trying to get people in. The mayor here in Tulsa just started a new initiative where nobody can sleep downtown, and they're going to put them all into shelter beds. Well, I spent 6 hours last Sunday trying to get a woman who was sober and sane into a shelter, and she still hasn't gotten in after a week. So they're lying. We know that, and we just have to, take it upon ourselves to try to get as many resources, as many contacts. We This week we just found two more contacts with DHS that know everything that we've been talking about as a group. So we're looking forward to utilizing their skills.
Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Keeping up on the terrain and what's happening, how the state's responding to these conditions. It's good stuff to organize around. Yeah, Wisconsin Watch Party, I see.
I was going to say, I found the volunteer break room of my local food pantry has an awful lot of people that know the terrain, and also most of them are impacted. And we're having some fairly serious discussions in there.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Yes, good to hear you're talking about that. NEPA watch party. Do y'all want to go?
You're muted. Go ahead.
Hey, everybody. So glad to be here today. One thing that we found today is we went back to a housing development, a Section 8 housing development, and we've been there now 3 times. And just how important it is to follow up with folks, even if you spoke with them, you connected with them, and maybe your follow-up didn't go as well, you had limited interaction. Today we followed up with someone who now is interested in Mission of Mercy and really appreciated us coming back. So that has just been very beneficial for us.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole. Great to hear about that. Yes, when we find a good location, we want to keep going back. Base building is a process. It takes time. It takes practice, it takes skill, it takes commitment, and we have to keep going back. I see Western Massachusetts Watch Party.
Hey y'all, my name's Vika. Sorry, we're getting a bit of an echo. We've been going to Stone Soup, which is a local food distribution and meal place that is open once a week on Saturdays. We've been going there once a month and just meeting people, talking to folks, sharing their Medicaid stories, their healthcare horror stories, and it's been really rewarding getting to know people that way. We have 2 awesome new people who we met who are here watching this with us today. So Yeah, super awesome stuff.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. So good. Yes, base building works. Katie and Adam in Illinois.
Thank you all. So great to hear that and to meet new folks then today. So we are have built a good relationship with the staff where we at our local social service agency where they're the hub for everything in our community. They're where people go for housing, for Medicaid, for SNAP, the food pantries there. Everything is there. And so there's 14,000 families that go through that space. And because we've built a good relationship, there's been many places where we have gone and met staff and they have not been open to us organizing there. So just naming that for anyone else who's had that experience. But this place is allowing us to organize out of there. And so we, the last Friday of every month, we are cooking and having a meal together with the food in the food pantry, learning how to do that cooking together, eating a meal together, and then having a meeting together and inviting people to another meeting where we rewatch Saturday School together. And then we have an organizing meeting once a month. And we're doing those follow-ups in between with and so we're slowly, it's so small, y'all, like it's very tiny, but we're doing the work and meeting some really great people.
Thank you so much for sharing. That's so inspiring. You gotta get small to get big, and y'all are on the right path. Rika, you want to share? You're on mute, Rika. You're still muted, Rika.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm driving. Well, I will be partnering up with the CME Church, and they're part of the Poor People's Campaign, so they will be partnering up with us for the Nonviolent Medicaid Army. I will be using one of their spaces to have our meetings, and so that's I think that will be a good partnership because they already have our theory of change, and it'll be keep us in tune with Poor People's Campaign too.
Awesome. Very exciting, Rika. Appreciate you building the Nonviolent Medicaid Army out in Virginia, building these partnerships. That's awesome. Let's hear from New York. I see Taka, Mark, and Kelly got a hand up.
There we go. Hey, I just wanted to mention, you kind of don't know what's going to come of some of these partnerships sometimes, like what other opportunities. And we've been partnering with this Central Park Distro, Tompkins Square Distro that does this food distribution. It's where we do our People's Clinic. We go once a month. And in getting to know them and in getting to know their organizers, they asked if we would do like a little first aid class kind of for them. Talk to them about some basic things that come up. They want to be able to help their volunteers and in case anything happens at their food distributions, just have some basic, because they know we have some health professionals that are part of our gang, Mark especially. And so we're going to do that, but it is going to give us an opportunity to really help these folks understand like who we are and what we're doing. So we can do the little, we can do the part they want, but we're going to do who we are. We're going to do, we're going to give them the full treatment, because there are folks and this young folks who are at that age. I think, one thing Jillian has actually reminded me about this, there are a lot of folks approaching 26 who have been on their parents' health insurance. And there's a lot of young volunteers in this food distro that even though they're not the folks coming to the food distro, they're getting pretty close, some of them. And so I just think that's like another opportunity that I certainly didn't anticipate, but this chance to really, really get to know them. And then they asked us to speak on a panel up at Columbia as part of Columbia University, which I'm doing more because I want to keep a good relationship with them. But you also never know what will come of it. So yeah, I just use that as an example that those were some benefits from a partnership that I totally did not anticipate. So
Thank you so much, Kelly. That's very, very instructive to hear about. Thank you.
Yes, again.
We're gonna move to our next steps. Before we do that, let's hear from Heather Schumacher in I think it's a watch party in Southeast Pennsylvania.
Yep, here in Delco.
Yep, we are here in Delco. Hey, Harrison. Hey, family.
Hey, Robin. Hey.
Hey. So we had an amazing base building kickoff to our base building season today. We were at our favorite market, Sam and Sam's. Met a lot of really good, solid people that are really interested in getting out and doing some things with us. And I thought it was so cool. We were just sitting there talking and we tried to approach this guy and he's like, I don't have any time, but he gave us a $2 donation. I just thought that was the coolest thing. He had no idea who we were. He just said, here, I'll give you a donation. But we really met some cool people. And it was, we did a little door knocking, a couple people, and then we did some tabling and, really talked about, we have a town hall coming up that the powers that be definitely don't want anybody to know about, the mayor and the people that purchased the hospital. And a lot of people didn't know. So we got a lot of information out about that. That was the main thing we really wanted to focus on was, making sure people show up for that town hall and let their voices be heard. And I think one of the highlights was, and I'll close with this, we met a guy and he right away said, we need a community hospital. He said, you're not a community if you don't have a hospital. And I just thought that was so cool. Like right away, that's what he led with when I said, hey, we're here, we're talking about the hospital. How's it been a year without a hospital? He's like, yeah, it's horrible. He said, you have to have a hospital to be a community. And I just love that because that's our theory. We believe that as well. So it was an amazing, amazing day.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. That's so powerful to hear about. Thank you for sharing. Right on. Healthcare is a human right. All right, I'm going to kick it to Nijmi, who's going to go over our next steps, and we can get them put back up on the slideshow. Thank you, Scott, so much.
Awesome.
Also, stop the war on the poor here in the U.S. and abroad. And I'll pass it to you, Nijmi.
Fantastic. Thanks, Harrison. Wow, I am just so thrilled about how today has been talking to all of you. And I put our next steps in the chat. We always end our calls with next steps. That's so important, right? And so this April's national call, which is on the fourth Thursday of the month, is on organizing conversations. So I hope you can see that there's a pattern here, right? We're starting base building season. We are making sure that we're going to the places where we're going to find our base, and then we've got to know how to talk to people effectively. And I think that there is a slide with these next steps on it as well. So thank you, Scott, for doing tech today and getting us there. Thank you so much. So this is also in the chat. You can click on the link in the chat and you can register now for the April National Call on Thursday, April 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Pacific on organizing conversations. The May Saturday School of Struggle, which will be on the 2nd of May at 1 p.m., will be on the difference between mutual aid and projects of survival. This is something that's important for us to know. Many of us have partners who are doing mutual aid. We are doing projects of survival. We want to understand how those two things function, work together, compare and contrast them. So that's going to be a very important Saturday School of Struggle. We're also going to feature some young people from the youth organizers, the Young Organizer Survival Corps, with the Kairos Center in that Saturday school. So we definitely don't want to miss it. Please share your story for Medicaid Mondays. This can be any story about the healthcare system and about our human rights in general, right? Medicaid Mondays is a time to share our experiences, whether you're on Medicaid, excluded from Medicaid, whether you have insurance through your job, whether you're on an ACA plan, whether you're on the VA, it doesn't matter. You can share for Medicaid Mondays. And that is the form that you can use to share your story. And then, of course, if it's your first time with us, I was trying to message people in the chat, so you could still have a minute to see that if you haven't seen it yet. And tell me where you are if you, again, if this is your first call, because we definitely want to follow up and stay connected with you. And yes, absolutely, Trent, you can definitely be included in that May school. Fantastic. Okay, everyone. Well, we are at the end of our time. We always like to close with a chant so we can get all of our voices into the room. First, I just want to say thank you to our tech folks from today. Thank you to our facilitators. Thanks to our small group facilitators. Thanks to everyone for being here, our watch parties. Appreciate you all so much. And we'll end with a chant, and I'll say, "Who are we?" And y'all will say, "The Medicaid Army." Who are we?
The
The
Medicaid
Medicaid
Army!
Army!
We.
The
Medicaid
Army!
Who are we?
The Medicaid Army!
Hey, that's right. That's right. Thank you all so much. Appreciate you all.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.